7 India Tango Lima. Good evening. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. I'm Dave, KD7CYM. The Western Washington Amateur Television Society is a group of amateur radio enthusiasts that take to the airwaves with fast scan television. We have a repeater located up on Cougar Mountain. We transmit on 70 centimeters. It's a crossband repeater and spits out images at 1.2 gigahertz. To find out more about the Western Washington Amateur Television Society, please Google WW7ATS. That's Google WW7ATS. That'll take you to our homepage. There you'll find the frequencies we transmit on, a little background on our club. Also, you will find a link that will take you to YouTube from our front page, where we stream our nets held Wednesdays and Saturdays between 8 and 9 o'clock. Also, we'd like to thank the SeaTac Repeater Association for letting us use WW7STR's repeater 147.08 with a specific tone of 103.5. That's the tone of 103.5 for this net. So this is Dave, KD7CYM. I'll pause in case anybody has emergency traffic or needs to make a contact on the 08 machine before our net gets fully underway. Hearing none, again, this is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net. I'm Dave, KD7CYM. Checked into the net so far is Ron, KD7QKU, Bob, K9PQ, Richard, K7ITX, Jim, N7QO, myself, Dave, KD7CYM. Is there anybody else that want to check into the net this evening?
WW7ATS. I'm just I/O tonight. Doing some driving with my niece, so I'm just listening to you guys tonight. All right, catch you guys later.
ITL, got that. Thanks for checking in. Again, is there anybody else that would like to check into the net this evening?
Dave, this is James, Whiskey Uniform 7 November in Northeast Bellevue. Checking in tonight.
7N, James, we have you down. Okay, checked into the net so far this evening is Ron, KD7QKU, Bob, K9PQ, Richard, K7ITX, Jim, N7QO, James, WU7N, and myself, Dave, KD7CYM. Again, asking, is there anybody else who would like to check in? We'll get the ball rolling. Let's start off the net with Ron, KD7QKU in Tacoma.
Okay, well, good evening, everyone. Again, this is Ron, KD7QKU, over here in Tacoma. So I'm looking at a small group tonight on Zoom, that's for sure. Maybe the rest of them will get up there. Here comes James, it looks like. Haven't seen Richard for a while. I was just putting a text together when I looked at my email, and there was no link to click on. I don't know. I thought maybe it had something to do with the new time or daylight savings time or something. But anyway, well, I don't know. I haven't been doing much, but I did yesterday, I guess it is. I and Joanne came to the conclusion that I guess that we're going to put the motorhome up for sale. So, oh, James, you need to mute. So, thank you. So anyway, I called Paul's Bull RV and talked to him about putting it on consignment. And that was a real nice guy I talked to. And told me all the ins and outs. I said that we had been thinking about it for a couple of years, and he said, it's too bad you hadn't done it a couple of years ago. You would have made a lot more money. He said, your motorhome's 18 years old now, and the bank doesn't like to finance them after they get to be 15 years old. And he said also that he said it's not impossible to finance them. It's just a little more difficult. The buyer has to pay higher interest rates usually. But he said at COVID, a couple of years ago, a lot of the motorhome manufacturers had kind of shut down, so there was a big demand for used motorhomes. So he said I would have got a lot more. So he said the first thing we have to do is tell you, look at the blue book and tell you what your motorhome's worth. He said when we can't sell them, the bank won't finance them for more than the blue book calls out their value. So he said, right now the blue book value of your motorhome's about $18,950, and I was hoping to get about $30,000 for it. But anyway, he said that's the bad news, and he said unfortunately, unless somebody comes in with cash and wants to pay more than we're asking, we have a hard time financing them for more than the blue book value. So he said if you're willing to sell it for about that much money, he said clean it out and bring it over, and usually they sell within 30 to 60 days, depending, I can't promise that, but it just depends. He said they have five locations, and he thought that the one in Des Moines is the one I call. He said they usually have bigger and more expensive motorhomes. So they have a new place kind of in Sumner, right off the East Valley Highway. He said that's where he'd like to see my motorhome placed. So anyway, I guess my goal is to get it over there maybe the first couple of weeks of August. He said we needed to take care. I asked him about, leaving silverware and plastic pans. No, he said don't do that. Clean it out completely, just like it was when it was new, and clean it up the best you can. So he said he said before we sell them, we want to make sure that everything works. And so he said we have, facilities here to do that. But if there's some repairs that need to be made, because we have to warranty them when we sell them, so we want to make sure they're working good when we sell them. And he said, you'll have to pay for that, but you won't have to pay until the unit is sold, and it'll come out of the cost. So, and he said, we'll tell you what we find when we check it all out, and tell you if there's things that need to be done, like make sure the generator will run, and make sure, it starts and the brakes work and lights and all that stuff. So I guess that's the next step would be to start cleaning it out. So I got to go to U-Haul, probably get a couple of boxes, and then I suppose take the pots and pans and stuff to Goodwill. So anyway, it'll be the first time that I haven't had a camper of some kind, I think, since 1965. I had pickup and campers, for many, many years now. It's going to be kind of funny not to have anything to go with. So anyway, that's the way life is, I guess. So back to net, KD7QKU.
QKU, let's go to Bothell Bob, K9PQ.
Well, good evening, everybody. And well, that's interesting, Ron, about the age and financing and all of that. And it's I'm not looking to sell my trailer, but it's good to know kind of the process. And my trailer's I don't know, probably 13, 14 years old now. So I guess if I wanted to sell it or trade it in for a newer model or something, I'd probably want to think about doing that soon. But I'm not thinking about that right now. I'm fine with it. And it does have a few little problems. The refrigerator won't run on AC. It'll run only on gas. And I never even tried to run it on DC, so I have no idea if that's working or not. But I found a source from my brother about a guy who makes the circuit boards. So you can just swap out a circuit board. And I haven't gotten around to doing that because running on gas has been fine for me. It works, but I would sure like to have it be able to run on AC. It cools so much better, and especially when I'm prepping to get out of the house and I want to have it nice and cold before I leave the house. Overnight with AC works. Overnight with gas, not so much. So, okay, well, I guess that's good for starters here. I'll send it back. K9PQ.
9PQ. Let's see if Richard's with us. K7ATS. K7ATS. ATX, check your frequency.
Testing.
Ford, you made it.
That's, I don't know how to describe it. That was a weird feeling. So, well, it just goes to show, if you're not around for very long, you lose it. I don't know what's that term. Don't use it or you'll lose it, or use it or you'll lose it. I don't know. Well, it happened. It just happened. So anyway, and that's, well, I'll just start from the beginning. I had 2 surgeries within just a couple days apart from each other, and one was on my hand and one was in my mouth. I don't know which was the worst. I would say probably the mouth was the worst, except it was the worst not having it done first. If that makes any sense. No, it doesn't. Okay, I meant to, what I should have said is I wish I would have had surgery on my mouth before I had it on my hand, because that's what hurts the most, leading up to just outright, Saturday and Sunday and Monday. Those 3 days is just horrific. Especially Monday. Oh, no, but all 3 days are bad, but oh my God, my tongue was shredded literally shreds from that sharp little bone that was sticking through my gum, and holy moly, geez, I can't even, it's over with though. Whew. It's still there a little bit, but as soon as, after the surgery was over, the relief set in, and so, anyway, gosh. I can't even describe to you guys the hell I've been through. Okay, excuse me, I shouldn't have said that. I should have said H-E-double-L or whatever the term is. Anyway, I can't hardly talk. K7ITX back to net control.
ITX, well, talking seemed to return to you rather rapidly. Let's go on to Jim, N7QO.
N7QO. Thank you, Dave. Good evening, everyone. Well, Dick, it's good to see you. You're looking good. Hand and mouth surgery. Ouch. Sorry about that. I had the I don't know if you call it privilege or honor or whatever of going to a dentist. Actually, yesterday they had to one of the implants that I had they made incorrectly, so it wasn't fitting, and they finally got it fixed. The parts came in from wherever they came from, and they got it stuck in my mouth, and it might need another adjustment, but it's working a whole lot better than a blank space. But they didn't even have to numb me up for this one, so I can only imagine what you have had to go through. I hate dentists, but this appointment was actually pretty good for me. Hang in there, Dick. The pain will go away soon, just not soon enough, but good to see you anyway. Ron, selling your motor home. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that can kind of be like a part of the family after a while. I assume you had it the whole 18 years. I don't know. I had two things. I had you might think of it as a tent trailer, but it had hard sides, had fiberglass sides. So I've had it parked outside in a driving rainstorm, and it stayed dry inside. It was really pretty good. What my wife and I did not like about it is if we were going anywhere and just wanted to take a break, we'd have to get out of the vehicle and set the thing all up and then tear it down again to be on our way. So we wound up replacing that with a van, a camper van. It had a pop-up top, hard top, and it wasn't completely self-contained. It did not have a shower, but otherwise it had everything. And Bob, like your refrigerator, ours would work either on propane or AC. It did not have a 12-volt option, but it worked much better on AC than it did on propane. So I guess that's kind of normal. Yeah, we had some good times way back when. Reset. I could think of one time it was kind of funny. My wife and I started we went from Houston and drove down to Harlingen to see this really big air show. And we were driving for like 8 hours. My wife kind of dozed off, and she woke up and, how come we're not there yet? She said, we started in South Texas, and you mean we're still in South Texas? You dummy, we must be in Mexico by now. But no, we're still in Texas. It's just a drive. So that brings back some fond memories. Unfortunately, we got rid of that and just kind of ran out of time to have fun for a few years there. And now, I don't know, we're not really up to traveling anymore, so we probably won't replace it with anything. But life kind of gets in the way from time to time. But it's good to hear that both of you have had some pleasant experiences as well. And Ron, I know you've been hashing it over for a little while. It's only you can tell if it's the right thing to do, but whichever you decide afterwards, you're going to go, yeah, you know, I wish we had done the other thing. Just to be forewarned about that. Anyway, back to you, Dave, N7QO.
And get an ID in here again. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society at the 08 machine. I'm Dave, KD7ZYM. Let's go to James, WW7ATS in Bellevue.
There I am. I see myself at 1.2 gigahertz. Really good picture tonight. I think spring is here when you don't get the fading of the signal and the rolling of the synchronization. That must mean spring has officially arrived to Cougar Mountain. Well, anyway, I was going to say, Jim, that you should explain to your wife Texas is really 5 states, and they actually we're going to do that, turn it into 5 states, and somehow it just never happened. But yeah, you can be driving in the eastern forests of Texas and drive, you know, nonstop, and it'll take you a couple days before you finally get over to the deserts of western Texas. That's why everybody moves around in airplanes. Kind of exciting, Ron, that you got an RV for sale. I mean, if you're running into financing problems and guarantee problems and stuff like that, you might want to consider good old Craigslist. He is right. There was absolutely a feeding frenzy during COVID for RVs. It was insane. But you can't think like that because you probably wanted to have it yourself in order to, you know, go barreling down the road once the cannibals attacked and everything. You know, you needed that during COVID. So timing is important on these things, but it's also sometimes your life dictates when you buy and sell stuff, and you just have to go with it. Thank you for confessing on the air to everyone. Now we know you're the cause of the global warming. If you're running your refrigerator on butane instead of electricity, because everyone knows electricity just comes magically out of thin air. Yeah, I saw a great picture the other day, showed a coal train going down the street, the tracks, and it was captioned, "Look, electric automobile food." So I thought that was pretty funny. That is even better than they were having some ecological conference in Germany, and everybody arrived in electric cars, but the building they were in couldn't handle charging all these cars, so they had all these diesel engines running generators to charge the electric cars. And someone got out there and took pictures and got quite a few until security chased them away. I thought that was hilarious too. Nick, heal up soon. I'm glad to hear that you're on the mend. It doesn't sound like it was very much fun at all. But I guess sometimes you just got to get those repairs done. I think my entire house is kind of like our aging bodies. I mean, all this stuff got put off. I think I'm going to have to rebuild a third of the house, not counting the bathrooms. But I'm wrestling around right now with what to outsource and have someone else do and what just to do myself. I gotta tell you, it's just not an easy decision to make. Like for example, I'm pretty sure I could get my own deck done upstairs, but boy, that downstairs deck has that big scary beam to get up there, a story and a half. I think I need you guys to come over and at least, you know, video it, so we'll have some good YouTube thing that generates lots of hits, so that you know, I can have some kind of disability income when it comes crashing down on me. Let's see, I've been a pretty boring person the last week. I haven't done a whole lot today. I took a walk while the weather was great. It was really nice, sunshiny here in northeast Bellevue for a bit. So that was nice. And other than that, let's see, tomorrow I have plans to go out with some friends for a bit. And that's always fun, Thursday activity. So, you know, that's about it for me here, James, WW7N in northeast Bellevue. So let me turn it back to Dave, our net control for the Western Washington Amateur Television Association. Wait, someone sent me a message? I do? Is this something I shared? Oh, I was going to share this with you, Bob. I was going to say that I've been told that this right here... Okay, well that didn't work very well, did it? Let's try that again. Screen share. Okay, that's a homemade Stirling engine made out of completely expedient parts. And I ended up going down a bunny trail and learning a lot about Stirling engines because it turns out there's an itty-bitty Stirling engine in a shoulder-fired rocket launcher that the United States military has had out, and I guess this thing is just incredible. Its efficiency is very, very high. And so I'm kind of wondering, I mean, it must be a little tiny thing because people are carrying it around on their shoulders. But it's actual, has little moving parts in it. and it powers a thermal sight that actually creates images off the high end of the infrared spectrum. So anyway, Bob, before you go spending a bunch of foolish money on new AC power boards, you probably should visit this site here and see if you can just scratch up some Coke cans and see if maybe your butane efficiency or propane efficiency would go up. Okay, that's it for me. Let me turn it back to Dave for the Western Washington Amateur Television Society.
7N, thanks for that. This is Dave, KD7CYM in Lake City. I got 46 degrees outside and semi-cloudy, you might say. But it's been a nice, beautiful afternoon with some sunshine, and this morning was a lot of sunshine. I did get out for a walk in the neighborhood, and then came back and got some domestic chores done around the house. Boy, Ron, with a motorhome for sale, I think you want to get it on the market really soon, considering people want to get financing, and vacations seem to start in June. I think August would be too late. You want to have it by May, I think, have it on the market so people will be able to utilize it for the summer. And, oh well, just an idea. And Bob, with a refrigerator that doesn't like power outside of gas, liquid petroleum is pretty good to run, and so at least you've got some form of chilling going on. And Richard, hand and mouth surgery. My only hand and mouth surgery is when I balance my checkbook. See if there's anything left to go into my mouth. So that's a surgery I have done a couple of times a week. Oh my gosh. And Jim with an implant that didn't fit quite right. You know, I've had a crown that didn't fit right, and the dentist worked and worked and worked to get it in. And then 2 weeks later he said, oops, I put the wrong one in, yours just arrived. So I had to go back and have that one taken off and then a new one put back on that fit right. So anyway, that was one of those things that you have from Dennis. James, glad to see that he's getting a good view coming off the ATV repeater. That's great. So this is Dave, KD7CYM in Lake City. That's about all I've got to say. So I'll send it back up to Ron, KD7QKU.
KD7QKU here again. Well, Dave, when you were talking at the beginning, you were covered up by the repeater, and I'm not sure what you told me. But anyway, it had something to do about the motorhome, I'm sure. And Richard, I'm sorry that your mouth hurts a bit. And so hold up your hand. Do you have a bandage on or anything on your wrist? No, that was it right there. Okay, yeah, a little scar. All right. Looks good, I guess. I don't know how your fingers feel, but they're working okay? Good. And Bob, on your refrigerator, so I don't know about the new ones and circuit boards, but the old ones, they just had a heating element in them, believe it or not, and it was, either AC or DC. So I would suggest that you get the name, maybe and model of your refrigerator and Google it and see what you find out about the heating and cooling. Because if they're like the old ones, you could just replace the heating element. It was like a tube, like a big cigar or like a flashlight, just stuck up inside of the unit. And let's see, yeah, you were talking about electric cars. I don't know if you saw it or not, but they showed it on the news the other night. The wire thieves have been out hitting the electric car charging stations and cutting all the wires off of them. And one of them over in Puyallup, I guess, they hit it twice a month apart. They waited for them to put all new wires back on it, and they went over and cut them off again. Those cables are big, they have a lot of copper in them. So I can see that's going to be a constant problem once somebody figures that out. And it's been on television now, so anybody that watches television that steals copper get out your cutters and run over to the local car charging station and cut all the wires off. So anyway, so what else? Well, let me let it drop, I guess. I had a spot in my lung for quite a few years, and I don't know, 20 years I suppose, when they first discovered it, and they've been, watching it every year or two, and so far nothing's ever happened to it, but it's been a couple of years since they looked, and so today I decided that I should call the pulmonologist and see if I could get an appointment. Well, that taken me 2 hours, and then when I got them, finally they answered. They say, okay, you're in line, and you'll be, the next person, or whenever it's your turn or something. And I'd get tired of waiting, so then I'd hang up, and then 20 minutes later or 10 minutes later, I'd call again. Well, finally I got through to them, and they said, well, we haven't seen you since 2022 or 21 or something, and so your referral has expired. So now you need to call your primary doctor and get a referral. So, okay, I started doing this, like 10 o'clock in the morning. So now it's noon. And so then after lunch, I started calling my primary care doctor. And I think about 2 o'clock, they finally answered the phone. And I said, I need a referral. And they said, okay, no problem. We'll get that off. I think I spent 2/3 of the day trying to get one appointment. It was really disgusting. I don't know if it was just today was Wednesday and they were busier than usual or what, but I don't know. It seems like the medical profession is overrun or something. We need more doctors, or they need more employees in the office. I don't know. I don't get it. It seems like whenever I go to my primary care doctor just down the street, and that's the one I was calling to get the referral, there's never anyone in the office. So I don't know what those ladies that answer the phone, but I almost drove down there. I could have went down there and walked in and talked to them quicker than getting them on the phone. So anyway, James is nodding up and down. So let's see, that's about it. I did sit in the sun while I was waiting for him to answer the phone. I got the recliner and opened the garage door, sat in the sun for a few minutes. That was nice. I should have went for a walk, but by the time I got all the phone calls made, I was in a kind of a twit, so I didn't want to go for a walk. So anyway, that's it, I guess. Back to net, KD7QKU.
QKU. And we get an ID here again. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. I'm Dave, KD7CYM. Let's go to Bob in Bothell, K9PQ.
Okay, well, hello again, and yeah, Richard, I'm glad you got everything taken care of, and sounded like it was a real pain, literally and figuratively, but sounds like you're on the mend, and that's good news. Let's see, I had a number of things to I'll go kind of quickly. So yeah, Texas driving. I have only ever been to Texas on business. I flew into Dallas both times. One time I drove up through Paris to Oklahoma, and my story for that is when I was in Hugo, Oklahoma, they said, yeah, you're not in, there's that word again, H-E double hockey sticks. You're not there exactly, but you can see it from here. So it was not the greatest place, but it was where there was a coal mine, and there's that coal again. Coal-fired power plants all through the Midwest, all through the South. They're very big. But the other one was Longview, Texas, which actually was another coal-fired power plant. But that was real pretty out that way. I did not expect the forests, as I think James mentioned. Somebody mentioned, the east side is forest, and then it takes a long time to get to the west side where the deserts are. And I kind of like those forests over there. I thought they were pretty. what else? Electric cars. Yeah, I'm. The one benefit of the electric cars, which shared with hybrid, by the way, is the regenerative braking. I mean, that really does save a lot of energy. But yeah, otherwise, yeah, you gotta make the power somehow that you put into the car, whether it's electric or gasoline or. So I'm kind of a fan of plug-in hybrid, so that you can just fill up. You don't have to worry about running out. You don't have to worry about any of those chargers that might have their cords cut for the copper. And that's a pretty cool Stirling engine you showed. I looked it up recently about Stirling engines, and I kind of already forgot what I learned because I was just curious. But I may look it up again because it keeps coming up. I think it's because it's so efficient. I think there's something about that. And I did look into my refrigerator, Ron. I actually went in and dug in myself to see if I could find like a fuse that was gone or something, because it actually gave me a fault rather than just not working. It actually gave me a fault. So I think replacing the board is my option. And as for balancing the checkbook, Dave, I write between 1 and 5 checks a year, and it all depends on how often I go camping, because I pay the woman that looks after my cat with a check, and I do my 1 check a year for this club. So I just am not a check person at all. So yeah, that's all I've got. I'll send it back to Nip, K9PQ.
Let's go to Richard, K7ITX, our new handyman.
Wow, it's really been a pretty eventful night, if you ask me. I'm the one usually doing all the talking, and now we got Ron and Bob and James and Jim. And Dave, for that matter. Geesh, well, that's a good deal. It is, all this doctor stuff, I'm pretty tired of it now. But let's see, I think I've got most of it, pretty much resolved, at least the worst of it, So, yeah, I don't... it's weird, I just don't have that much to talk about it. Well, I can always talk about household events, and that would be, I've overcome all this doctor stuff, but wouldn't you know, they give me, some pretty decent pain pills, but why am I in trouble for taking them from the old lady? I don't get it, and I'm speaking quietly, so if anyone has one within earshot, kind of give me a wink. I don't want to get in trouble. Okay, good. Thanks, Ron. So anyway, because that's the first thing I heard when we got home, or when they got home from their little operation that they have to make money. When was the last time I took a pill? Well, gosh, it was last night, for crying out loud. I mean, that wasn't even today. But I'm telling you, I'm going to take another one in pretty short order here, so what can I say? It really helps a lot. I mean, and the thing of it is, if it's hurting, it isn't healing. That's the way I look at it. So, and I got a pretty good supply, so I think I'll put it to good use. So what the heck? I don't know what else to say. I'm out of business. K7ITS, back to net control.
ITX, let's go to Jim, N7QO.
N7QO, thank you, Dave. Well, Jim, Sterling engine, that looks pretty intriguing. I have to scratch my head a little bit on that. Don't have real good resolution here. I have where I'm located, the picture tonight on 1.2 gigahertz is better than average. I've got good sync, but every now and then the picture just disappears, and I have heavy snow, really brilliant colors. I don't know, that's about all the better it gets from where I am now. Dave, wrong crown. Oh my goodness. Sorry about that. I wonder how they would go about fixing that, unless maybe they just put one on there like temporarily because he thought he might have to go back or something. What they've done with mine is epoxied the crown onto the tooth, and there have been a couple of times that I had problems, and invariably when they removed the crown, they damaged what was left of the tooth, so they could not use the old crown again. They had to make a new one. Maybe that's what they did with you. What a pain. Yeah, I'm not fond of dentists, but sometimes you just gotta go. Ron, yeah, the medical industry is having some problems. Actually, a lot of industries are having some problems, but it's a challenge to get to see a doctor nowadays. I don't know. I hope that spot in your lung turns out to be nothing. But it's a good thing that you're going to get it looked at. So good luck. Good luck with that. We'll be praying for you there. Bob, Texas driving. Yeah. Interesting. Probably the first time I wound up in Texas, which was, I don't know, 45 years ago or so, 50 years ago maybe. It was kind of strange the way the roads are there. They have feeder roads. They call them feeder roads, which just parallel the freeways. And the problem is, frequently, so businesses establish themselves along these feeder roads. So frequently, you might want to go to a business establishment, and what you'd have to do is drive a considerable ways past it, and then turn around and come back in order to get to it. Well, I have witnessed hundreds of guys just driving off the interstate right across the grass and onto the feeder roads to get to where they want to go. And it was pretty shocking the first couple of times I saw that. You get used to it after a while, but interesting. So yeah, Texas is a little different. That's actually one of the things my wife really hated about the state. The other, she hated the climate. It was just too hot and humid for her. I think it was more the humidity than anything. And then the third thing she really hated was we have these monster cockroaches. They call them palmetto bugs, but man, every now and then you see one skirting around and it's like, whoa, I need to load the 22 on this one. It's, anyway, those are the three things which my wife really hated about the state. And we were there for like 20 years. Oh well. Back to you, Dave, N7QO.
QO, thanks for that. Let's go to James, WW7ATS.
Yes, the giant cockroaches were legitimate 22 rimfire targets for anyone over the age of 6 years old in my county, along with rats. And I remember Houston, when I was much older, was having to run around in a suit and tie, and I would, you have to take 2 showers a day. And so you feel like you're on the moon, and you're holding your breath, running from one air-conditioned environment to the other. And you don't want to get stuck in someone's car for lunch or something, because that's going to bake you, and then your suit's wrecked and has to go get dry cleaning. Yes, fond memories of Houston, certainly. A Goodnow's rule of pharmacology in fast airplanes, I'm sure Jim will agree with me. This was a rule that was generated out of the combination of brain power of the transportation industry and Big Pharma. Goodnow's rule of pharmacology in fast airplanes is the higher and faster the magic carpet ride, the bigger the bill when you land. I think pain medication is one of the great advances of medicine, but just make sure you keep that rule in mind and plenty of oatmeal and prunes in your system. My father said that when he was in medical school, they gave, I guess they were using morphine sulfate back then or something like that, who knows, to a dog. And then they would, have this dog trained to do its thing in front of the class. But after, some period of time after the morphine sulfate, the dog, which is trained, to do what it wanted, what they wanted, just couldn't get it out. It was trying so hard, and so this was always. And the instructor said, the reason we do this whole little show is to get you guys up on the idea that morphine sulfate will cause this problem in your patients, and you always have to mitigate it. So, and he remembered it, 40 years later. So I guess it worked. I guess the memory trick worked. The other thing is, you always have to have a song whenever you take pain meds. My favorite is da-da-da-da-da-da, just put your mind on hold and just do what you're told. There's no need to try, just let your mind go by. On the repeater side, wasn't it? I think I just broke an FCC regulation. That's what I like about aviation. If you screw up like that, they got this special little form you can fill out that says, I screwed up, and I'm really sorry about that. You can just mail it in, and of course you don't mail it into the FAA, you mail it into NASA. And they build this giant database of all the people who said, wow, that was really stupid, but somehow I lived to fill out this form, but maybe somebody else will learn from my mistake. We should have that in ham radio too, shouldn't we? Anyway, with about 10 minutes left of this net, I think I'm going to turn it back to Dave, our net control for the Western Washington Amateur Television Society. This is James, WW7N.
7N. Thanks for that comment. This is Dave, KD7CYM. Well, what I was saying to Ron earlier, get that motorhome on the market soon. You want to have it there by at least May, because people wanting to use it for the summer, by the time they get their finances all together, it's the 1st of June and they're ready to hit the road. So the sooner the better to get a sale out on that. As far as motorhome goes, gosh, when I had a 7-year-old at home, rented a motorhome to go down to Disneyland from Seattle, and my daughter was just enthralled with the bathroom. A flushing toilet on a moving vehicle. I think she spent half of the time in the toilet flushing it. She was just so impressed that that was at her convenience to use. But motorhomes were a lot of fun to go down and hit the road for a vacation. It was very enjoyable. So, this is Dave, KD7CYM. And I'm going to send it back up to Ron, KD7QKU.
7QKU here. Well, Jim, you were talking about driving, and Andrea maybe was asleep or something. So that happened to Joanne and I a couple of times. One of them was we were down, Arizona, California. We were going to go to the Roy Rogers Museum. So we'd never been there, but we'd heard it was really fantastic. And so Joanne went to sleep, and she woke up probably, an hour later, and she said, aren't we at the museum yet? And I said, no, I never saw the museum. Or she said, well, you were supposed to turn off back there on whatever it was, like Route 165 or something. I said, I don't hardly remember seeing Route 165. So she said, well, I think you need to pull over and stop. I think we need to figure out where we are. So I'd gone about 65 miles past where the museum was. So, I got the car behind the motorhome, so I got to find a place to turn around, go back the other direction, and then we did find it. And we got there just about the time it was closing in the evening. So we never really got to see it as much as we'd like to. So they had they had Trigger there. He was stuffed. Outside they had a big statue of Trigger, and then had Roy Rogers' dog. He had a German Shepherd. He was stuffed. All kind of stuff. So now we're back down, and we're back down in the same area. Probably 5 years later, 3 or 4 years later. I don't know how it is. So Joanne said, I want to go to Roy Rogers Museum because we never got to really look at it good. You missed it the first time, and we wasted 2 hours trying to get back to it. Sure, I said, that's no problem. So we go down there again. Did not see the statue of Trigger, along the highway where the museum is supposed to be. So Joanne's looking at the map and at the GPS and all that. She said, it's got to be right here. I said, well, I don't know. So anyway, had to find a place to turn around, went back, went right there. I said, just go in the store and ask somebody where the museum is. So she goes into the store. It was a drugstore or something. It was, on the frontage road next to the highway. And comes back out and she said, you're not going to believe this. And I said, what? She said, it was right here and they tore it down. The museum is closed. It's no longer here. Now it's back in Bronson, Missouri or someplace. I said, well, we're not driving back there today. So that was one time when I missed it twice. So anyway, I guess the net's about over. So back to net, KD7QKU.
QKU. Let's go on to Bob, K9PQ.
Okay, man, oh man, yeah. Stories about trying to get from A to B, there are a lot of them out there. My favorite is from when I was in the New Orleans area, and I was heading out. I happened to be there with my parents, and we were heading out to see something like one of the old stately homes or something out there, and plantation, and we were looking for the directions, and I had actually stopped because we got kind of lost, and this was before GPS, before any of that. So I actually called information and got directions to where we were going. And one of the times they said, yeah, so you want to take the Clavey Road exit off of where you are now. And so we're going down, and I'm looking for it, not seeing it. And all of a sudden, it clicked just in time in my head. It was Clearview Road. And the accent, the way she said it, sounded like Clavey Road to me. And but I saw Clearview, and it's like, oh yeah, that's it. And I got him, and we turned off just in time. So that one had a happy ending. And the other thing I would say is the NASA book for air mistakes that were survived. That's a great idea. And I would say with ham radio, it's maybe not necessary because mistakes are not deadly unless your wife happens to overhear. Then it could be deadly. So, and one last thing. I thought that was my last thing, but I have one more. Ron mentioned a frontage road, and it's interesting to me how in different parts of the country people speak differently. How in Texas they call it a feeder road. I had never heard that term before. Frontage road is what I've always used, but interesting to hear different ways of saying things. Okay, I'll send it back. K9PQ 73 all.
K9PQ. Thank you. Let's go to Richard, K7ITX.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, you guys, for all the great stories. Geez, was that's pretty much a nightmare because you guys know if you're not prepared for some harebrained turn, then it is a nightmare. It's just plain and simple. But I lived to tell the tale that I never, got stuck in a ditch or drove off the road or any of those things. Came pretty dang close, real close. And but I don't know, for whatever reason, I always just took my time, and I can't tell you how many times I got out of the car and walked behind to see what it looked like. I mean, probably a couple hundred times easily. And not walk behind the car, but the trailer, I guess. So that's where I'm coming from right now. I have nothing to talk about. So anyway, but it's been really fun listening. And maybe by the next net, I'll have my brains back together. K7ITX, back to net control, 73.
ITX, thanks for that. Let's go to Jim, N7QO.
N7QO, thank you, Dave. Wow. Well, Ron, I had no idea that they moved the Roy Rogers Museum. I was there, I don't remember what year it was, but it was Victorville, used to be George Air Force Base, before they decided it wasn't going to be an Air Force base. I flew troops in and out of there, actually between there and Cherry Point. And what was going on is guys would go and train apparently for a period of time. I don't recall, 6 weeks or something like that at a time. If I'm not mistaken, it was desert training, and then we'd run them back. So we'd go back and forth, and yeah, Trigger was there. I don't remember anymore everything that was there. I seem to remember some old Jeep, which was somehow that stands out in my mind. But yeah, they're moving things around and make you scratch your head as to, didn't that used to be there? Where is it now? I don't know. I'm stuck. Anyway, back to you, Dave, N7QO.
QO. Well, let's go to a final with James, WU7N.
Did you want to do something? You were waving at the screen.
To address the Roy Rogers Museum a little bit to Jim. So apparently no one knows who Roy Rogers is now. The kids, they don't know yet. So apparently that was what Roy Rogers said, that when people stopped coming, he wanted them to get rid of the museum. And so there's no museum anyplace anymore. No one, like I say, knows who Roy Rogers is. So all the stuff's been sold or given to other museums or something. So it doesn't exist anyplace anymore. Okay, that's it. KD7QKU.
Nature of museums, I think sometimes. They come for a generation and then they leave. But I'm hoping, if the internet continues on, that maybe 100 years from now, no matter what, no matter how esoteric or long ago it was, you'll be able to find something of some of these museums. There is a telecommunications museum way out east of me someplace, and I discovered it during COVID, but of course it was shut down then, and I don't know, it's only open I think during the summer months. And I'm guessing that one man probably runs it, and when he passes away, there probably won't be anybody to run it. and I'm hoping that the stuff out there, goes someplace to another museum or just doesn't get taken to the dump. Also, there's a museum up in the north end, somewhere around where Bob or Lee live up there, some radio museum up there, and I just can't. I remember we discussed it on this net 5-6 years ago, but I never got up there, and COVID hit again. So I'll have to research that and try and figure out what's going on up there. Well, it's 9 o'clock, so I think the hour has struck. My name is James, WW7ATS in Northeast Bellevue. Let's turn it back to Dave, our net control, to wrap up the Western Washington Amateur Television Society.
WU7N, thanks for that. This is Dave, KD7CYM. We'd like to thank the SeaTac Repeater Association for letting us use WW7STR's repeater, 14708, for our voice transmission. So on behalf of the Western Washington Amateur Television Society, this is Dave, KD7CYM, signing off the net at 9:01. Good evening all.